Good morning, everyone. Let me ask you a simple question. How many of you here have faced a problem in life? Raise your hands a pause. And how many of you would like to live a life completely free of problems? A pause, smile. Let me give you a secret. Such a life does not exist. Because problems are not interruptions in life, they are a part of life itself. Just like seasons change, problems come and go, the art of living is not about avoiding problems, but about learning to face them with wisdom, patience, and courage. And that is exactly what I want to share with you today. When we begin to understand life, one of the first truths that we must accept is that problems are absolutely universal. There is no single person on this planet who is exempt from them. Sometimes we are deceived into thinking that problems are only for us, that our suffering is unique, that everyone else has it easy and we are the unlucky ones. But if you look closely, you will realize that the richest businessman, the most famous celebrity, the most powerful leader, even the person sitting next to you right now, has their own set of challenges. Problems don't discriminate between rich and poor, educated and uneducated, young and old. They don't look at your background, your qualifications, your status, or your beauty. They come to everyone. The truth is, everyone is fighting a battle that you may not see. The smile on someone's face does not always mean everything is perfect. It often means they have learned how to handle their storms while keeping their head high. Think about it. If money could solve all problems, then billionaires would be the happiest people on earth. Yet, we hear stories of wealthy people battling depression, loneliness, and broken relationships. If education alone could solve problems, then the most intelligent scholars would live free of struggle. But many of them face crises of meaning and direction. If fame could protect us from problems, then celebrities would never go through heartbreaks, addictions, or scandals. But reality teaches us that no matter who you are or what you have, problems will still knock at your door. The universality of problems actually gives us a strange sense of comfort. Because when we realize that we are not the only ones carrying burdens, we stop feeling singled out by life. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we can begin to say, "Why not me?" Problems are not a punishment designed specifically for us. They are simply a natural part of being human. Just as rain falls on everyone without choosing, life's struggles fall on everyone without exception. The only difference is in how people respond to them. Some crumble under the weight, while others use the challenge as fuel to rise higher. So, instead of comparing our lives to others and assuming they have it easier, it is wiser to understand that every human being is walking with their own invisible load. This awareness should not make us hopeless, but humble and compassionate. It should remind us that no one is above problems and no one is beneath them. The very fact that problems are universal means they are not here to destroy us, but to unite us, to teach us empathy, and to remind us that we are all in this journey together. When we look back at the course of human history, and even at our own personal lives, one thing becomes very clear. Problems are not here to break us, they are here to make us. Just like pressure on coal transforms it into a diamond, problems and challenges shape our growth and bring out the hidden potential within us. Without challenges, we would never discover the depth of our strength. If everything in life was always smooth, easy, and predictable, we would remain the same, comfortable but stagnant. It is only when life shakes us, tests us, and stretches us beyond our comfort zones that we begin to grow into stronger, wiser, and more resilient individuals. Think about the strongest trees in a forest. They don't grow tall and sturdy in perfect conditions with mild weather and no resistance. They become strong because they endure storms, winds, and harsh conditions. The roots grow deeper because of the struggle to remain grounded. In the same way, our character develops through problems. Every setback forces us to dig deeper, every hardship makes us more grounded, and every challenge we face strengthens the roots of our patience and resilience. If we remove every problem from life, we also remove the opportunity to evolve into better versions of ourselves. Consider the lives of great inventors, leaders, and saints. Behind every inspiring achievement lies a story of problems. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Mahatma Gandhi faced countless obstacles in his fight for freedom. Nelson Mandela endured years of imprisonment, yet emerged stronger to lead a nation. These examples remind us that problems are not the end of the road, they are the very process through which greatness is shaped. Without those struggles, their inner brilliance would never have been revealed. Even in our personal lives, think about the times when we faced difficulties, maybe in academics, relationships, or careers. In the moment, those problems felt unbearable, but later we often look back and say, "That phase taught me something valuable." Problems teach us to be patient when we want quick results. They teach us humility when we feel too proud. They teach us compassion when we see others suffering. They force us to think creatively, to find new ways, and to adapt to circumstances. Growth does not happen in comfort, it happens in pressure. So the next time we face a problem, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" a better question would be, "What is this teaching me? What part of me is being polished through this struggle?" The same way heat molds clay into pottery and pressure forms diamonds, problems mold us into stronger human beings. They refine our character, deepen our wisdom, and make us capable of handling life with maturity and grace. When we face problems, one of the most important truths to remember is that the way we see them often matters more than the problems themselves. Perspective is everything. A problem by itself may not have the power to crush us, but the way we interpret it, the meaning we assign to it, and the angle from which we look at it can either make it feel like a mountain or reduce it to a manageable stone on the road. Many times in life, the real burden is not the problem, but the thoughts we carry around the problem. If we see challenges as punishment, we feel bitter. If we see them as lessons, we feel stronger. If we see them as opportunities, we feel motivated. The same reality can produce completely different emotions depending on the perspective through which we choose to see it. Imagine two people walking in the rain. One person sees the rain as a nuisance. He complains, gets frustrated, and keeps asking, "Why now? Why me?" The other person looks at the same rain and sees it as refreshing. He feels alive, joyful, and even dances in it. The rain is the same, but the experience is different because of perspective. Problems are very much like that. One person may look at a challenge and crumble, while another sees it as a chance to grow. Nothing in the situation has changed, only the way of looking has changed. That is why great teachers and thinkers often remind us we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Think about students preparing for exams. For some, the exam feels like torture, endless pressure, and fear. For others, it feels like an exciting challenge, a chance to prove themselves, a test of their knowledge. The exam is the same, the papers are the same, but the mindset changes everything. In life, we too are writing our exams. When problems come, we can either see them as proof that life is unfair, or we can see them as a test that will reveal our strength and resilience. Perspective gives us power over despair. Often, what we label as a problem is actually a blessing in disguise. Losing a job may look like a disaster at first, but later it may lead to a better career or a new path. A broken relationship may feel like unbearable pain, but it may open the door to self-discovery and deeper connections later. At that moment, it feels like the end, but from a higher perspective, it is only a bend in the road. Problems sometimes close one door so that another, better one can open. But if we only stare at the closed door, we will never notice the new opportunities waiting for us. Perspective also determines how long a problem stays with us. A negative outlook makes small problems appear bigger than they are, magnifying the pain. A positive outlook does not erase the difficulty, but it reduces the weight and gives us energy to move forward. A glass of water held in your hand may seem light, but if you keep holding it without putting it down, it starts to feel heavy. Similarly, a problem kept in the wrong perspective becomes heavier with time. But if we adjust our perspective, we can carry it with balance and sometimes even put it down completely. So when problems arise, the most powerful tool we have is our perspective. If we learn to reframe a problem, not as a curse, but as a challenge, not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone, our entire life changes. Problems may not disappear, but they will no longer control us. We will be the ones in control, deciding how to respond, how to grow, and how to move forward. One of the greatest illusions we carry in our minds is that our problems will last forever, that the pain we are experiencing right now will stretch endlessly into the future. But if we observe life carefully, we realize that problems are always temporary in nature. Just like seasons, they come and they go. Winter may feel cold and dark, but it never stays permanently. Spring eventually arrives. In the same way, the storms of life never remain forever. They pass, they change, and they transform into something else. But when we are in the middle of the storm, it is easy to forget this truth and believe that the darkness will never lift. That is where patience and faith come into play. Think of a time when you felt completely stuck, when you thought nothing would ever improve. Perhaps it was a financial crisis, a period of loneliness, a health issue, or a heartbreak. In that moment, it seemed endless, didn't it? But today, when you look back, you can see that it was just a phase. It may have been hard, but it passed. You found a way through it. You came out on the other side, maybe even stronger. The same is true for the problems you are facing today. They too will pass. They are not permanent fixtures of your life, but temporary visitors. Nature itself teaches us this lesson beautifully. After the heaviest rainfall, the sun eventually breaks through the clouds. After the longest night, morning always arrives. There has never been a storm in history that did not eventually come to an end. Similarly, there is no problem in your life that has the power to hold you captive forever. Time changes everything, situations evolve, people heal, opportunities arise, and what once felt unbearable becomes part of the past. Sometimes, all we need to do is endure a little longer, to trust that this phase will not define our entire story. Many people give up hope in the middle of their struggles because they believe it will never end. But those who remember that problems are temporary find the strength to keep moving. A runner in a marathon knows that the pain in their legs will not last forever, and that thought pushes them to continue. A student facing tough studies knows that exams are only a season, and once they pass, new doors will open. Life works the same way. Difficulties are not permanent prisons, they are tunnels. And when we keep walking, eventually we see the light at the other end. This perspective not only gives us courage, but it also allows us to handle challenges with greater calmness. Instead of panicking and saying, "This is my life now, this pain will never leave," we can remind ourselves, this is only a chapter, not the whole book. Every story has ups and downs, and the beauty of life is that no chapter, however dark, lasts forever. Problems fade, wounds heal, and new beginnings emerge. When we carry this truth in our hearts, even the toughest situations lose their power to break us. Every problem in life carries within it a lesson, a message, something that is meant to shape us if we are willing to listen. Often, in the middle of difficulties, we become so focused on the pain that we forget to ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Yet, if we take a step back, we will realize that every challenge has a hidden wisdom. Problems are not simply accidents, they are teachers in disguise. They arrive not to entertain us, but to educate us. They don't come to comfort us, but to stretch us into becoming more than we were yesterday. Think of how we learn the most valuable lessons in life. It is rarely in moments of comfort or ease. When everything is smooth, we may enjoy life, but we don't necessarily grow. Real growth happens when life shakes us. When we fail an exam, we learn the importance of preparation. When we lose money, we learn the value of careful decisions. When we experience heartbreak, we learn about emotional resilience and self-respect. When health declines, we learn to appreciate the gift of well-being. Each problem plants a seed of wisdom that nothing else can provide. Even simple day-to-day issues teach us something. Getting stuck in traffic teaches us patience. Misunderstandings with friends teach us the value of communication. Struggles at work teach us discipline and consistency. The key is whether we are humble enough to extract the lesson rather than only complain about the discomfort. Some people go through problems and come out bitter. Others go through the same problems and come out better. The difference lies in whether they pause to learn or only rush to escape. Many times, the lessons we learn from difficulties cannot be taught by books, schools, or teachers. Life itself becomes the greatest teacher, and problems become the blackboard on which wisdom is written. That is why so many wise elders say that experience is the best teacher. But experience doesn't just mean the passage of time. It means reflecting on what life has tried to teach us through its ups and downs. A person who only suffers without reflecting remains the same, but a person who suffers and asks, "What is the lesson here?" becomes transformed. Even spiritual traditions around the world recognize this truth. Problems are often described as purification, as a process through which life polishes the soul. Just as fire refines gold, problems refine character. They remove arrogance, they crush pride, they make us more empathetic toward others. When we have suffered, we are less likely to judge others for their suffering. When we have been through pain, we become gentler with those in pain. Problems expand our humanity, soften our hearts, and deepen our wisdom if we allow them to. The next time life throws a challenge your way, pause for a moment before reacting. Instead of immediately asking, "Why me?" try asking, "What is life trying to teach me through this?" That single shift in perspective can change the entire meaning of the problem. The pain may not vanish instantly, but the purpose behind it will give you strength. And once the lesson is learned, the problem has already served its purpose. When we face difficulties in life, we often focus all our energy on the size of the problem, on how overwhelming and unmanageable it looks. But if we pause and reflect, we realize that the true measure of our life is not the size of the problem, but the size of our response. Two people can face the exact same challenge, yet their outcomes will be completely different depending on how they choose to react. It is not the weight of the burden that breaks a person, it is the way they carry it. Our response is always more powerful than the problem itself. Consider a glass of water. If you hold it for a moment, it feels light. Hold it for an hour, it begins to hurt your arm. Hold it for a day, and your arm will go numb and collapse under the pressure. The water has not changed, the weight is the same. What has changed is the way you are holding it. Similarly, when problems come, if we hold on to them with panic, fear, and resentment, they become heavier with time. But if we choose to hold them with calmness, faith, and clarity, their weight is easier to bear. The problem doesn't shrink, but our response transforms how heavy it feels. Think of an athlete who faces defeat. One athlete may give up, convinced that he is a failure. Another may use the same defeat as fuel to train harder, to rise again with more determination. The same problem, failure, but two very different outcomes because of two very different responses. One saw defeat as the end, the other saw it as a stepping stone. This is the power of response. Even in relationships, the same principle applies. Someone speaks harshly to us, and we can either respond with anger, making the situation worse, or we can respond with patience, diffusing the tension. The words may sting, but our response determines whether the relationship breaks or heals. At work, when faced with setbacks, we can either blame others and complain endlessly, or we can take responsibility and look for solutions. Problems often reveal who we are, but more importantly, they give us the chance to become who we can be. History is filled with people who faced immense struggles, but rose above them because of the strength of their response. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of concentration camps, famously said that while everything can be taken from a man, one thing cannot be taken: the freedom to choose his attitude in any given circumstance. Even in the worst of conditions, he discovered meaning, and his response gave him the strength to survive when many could not. His story shows us that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always control how we respond to it. Life will always bring problems, But how we respond determines whether those problems make us bitter or better. If we choose anger, we multiply suffering. If we choose patience, we invite peace. If we choose despair, the problem grows heavier. If we choose hope, the problem becomes a teacher. Problems test not just our circumstances, but our character. They ask us silently, will you let me defeat you? Or will you rise above me? And every time we choose a noble response, we prove to ourselves that we are stronger than what we face. So when the next difficulty comes into your life, pause and remind yourself, I may not be able to control this problem, but I can control my response. I can decide whether the situation will break me or build me. In that choice lies our real power. Gratitude is one of the most powerful attitudes we can carry when problems surround us. Most of the time, when life becomes difficult, our attention automatically shifts to what is missing, what is broken, what is painful. We focus so much on the darkness that we forget to notice the little sparks of light that are still present. Gratitude is the discipline of shifting our eyes away from only what is wrong and training ourselves to see what is still right. It does not mean ignoring the problem or pretending it doesn't exist, but it means remembering that even in the middle of pain, there are still blessings around us that we can hold on to. When we are sick, the mind focuses on illness, but gratitude reminds us that there are still people who love us, still moments of laughter, still chances for healing. When we lose money, the mind screams about loss, but gratitude reminds us that we still have skills, opportunities, and perhaps even family who stand with us. When relationships break, gratitude whispers that although one chapter has closed, we are still alive, still capable of love, still able to grow into deeper wisdom. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it cushions it, softens it, and allows us to see that life has not abandoned us completely. Think of someone who has gone through great difficulties, yet still carries a smile. If you ask them why, often they will say, because I still have so much to be thankful for. That attitude does not come from having a problem-free life. It comes from recognizing that blessings and problems coexist. It is possible to be in pain and still be thankful. It is possible to have tears and still have gratitude. In fact, the more we practice gratitude in hard times, the stronger we become in facing those very problems. There is a beautiful truth here. Gratitude transforms the energy of a problem. Without gratitude, problems make us bitter, angry, and hopeless. With gratitude, the same problems become bearable and sometimes even meaningful. For example, a mother may struggle with sleepless nights caring for her newborn, but gratitude for the gift of a child turns exhaustion into joy. A student may feel pressure from heavy studies, but gratitude for the chance to learn turns stress into motivation. Gratitude reframes hardship into something that strengthens rather than weakens us. Spiritually, gratitude is considered one of the highest attitudes a person can cultivate. Because when you are grateful even in difficulty, you are saying to life, I trust you. I know you have not abandoned me. I believe there is still something good even here. That faith keeps the heart calm and gives the mind clarity to see solutions. It also prevents us from falling into despair, which often makes problems worse than they are. Gratitude is not just an emotion, it is a practice. It is something we must consciously choose, especially when life feels heavy. It could be as simple as keeping a small journal and writing down 3 things each day that we are thankful for, even when the day feels terrible. It could be as simple as pausing for a moment when we are stressed and saying, "Yes, this is hard, but I am grateful that I still have this, and this." That practice builds an inner shield that prevents problems from completely taking away our peace. The real beauty of gratitude is that it shifts our attention from scarcity to abundance, from what we lack to what we already have. And once our focus shifts, the problem loses some of its power over us. Gratitude gives us strength to endure, courage to keep going, and peace in the middle of storms. It is not that grateful people have fewer problems. It is that they refuse to let their problems blind them to the blessings still present. Faith and patience are two of the most vital companions we can carry when problems come into our lives. Problems often test us not only in our strength, but in our ability to wait, to endure, and to trust in the timing of life. Most of the pain we feel during difficult times does not come from the situation itself, but from our restless need for immediate solutions. We want the problem to disappear instantly. We want clarity right away. We want comfort without delay. But life does not always work according to our schedule. Many times, answers unfold slowly, healing comes gradually, and clarity arrives step by step. It is in this waiting period that patience is forged and faith is deepened. Patience is not simply the act of waiting, it is the act of waiting with the right attitude. Anyone can wait, but few can wait without complaining, without giving up, without becoming bitter. Patience is the ability to keep calm when everything inside you wants to scream. It is the art of holding on when giving up looks easier. When you plant a seed, you cannot demand that it becomes a tree overnight. You water it, protect it, give it sunlight, and allow time to do its work. In the same way, many of our problems are like seeds of growth. They require patience for the lesson to ripen, for the solution to appear, for the season to change. Faith works hand in hand with patience. Faith is the trust that even when we cannot see the bigger picture, there is one. It is the confidence that even if life seems chaotic right now, there is meaning behind the chaos. Faith tells us that behind every delay, there may be protection. Behind every loss, there may be preparation for something better. Behind every unanswered prayer, there may be a higher wisdom at work. Faith allows us to rest our anxious minds and say, "I don't understand this now, but I believe one day it will make sense." There are countless examples in life where faith and patience have turned pain into purpose. Someone who lost a job may have felt crushed, but with patience and faith, they discovered new opportunities that aligned better with their true potential. Someone who faced rejection may have felt humiliated, but later found acceptance in places that honored their worth. Many of the most beautiful turns in life come only after long seasons of waiting and trusting. Without patience, we would abandon the journey too early. Without faith, we would lose hope along the way. But with both, we find the strength to keep moving until the breakthrough arrives. Even spiritually, problems are seen as tests of faith and patience. They ask us silently, will you give up the moment things get hard? Will you stop believing when answers don't come quickly? Or will you keep trusting even in the silence? Those who hold on with patience and faith emerge stronger. with a heart that is unshakable. They realize that life is not about rushing to the end of every difficulty, but about learning to trust the process. Patience without faith can feel like endless suffering. Faith without patience can feel like shallow optimism. But when the two walk together, they create resilience. Together, they give us the ability to endure hardship without breaking, to wait without losing hope, and to trust that every winter will eventually turn into spring. Problems may test us, but with faith and patience, they cannot defeat us. They only carve deeper strength into our hearts and prepare us for blessings we could not see coming. When problems weigh heavily on our shoulders, one of the greatest mistakes we make is thinking we must carry them all alone. Human beings were never designed to walk through life in isolation. Just as the body needs oxygen to survive, the soul needs connection, support, and companionship. When challenges come, a strong support system can make the unbearable feel lighter. Sharing our struggles with the right people does not always remove the problem, but it eases the burden, gives us perspective, and reminds us that we are not walking alone. Think of how a heavy load feels when you carry it alone. It crushes your back, bends your posture, and drains your energy. But the moment another pair of hands lifts even a small part of it, the weight feels lighter. The load itself has not changed, but the distribution of it has made it manageable. In the same way, when we confide in a trusted friend, family member, mentor, or spiritual guide, we may not erase the problem, but we share the emotional weight of it. Even a listening ear can bring relief that no solution could. Sometimes what we need most is not someone to fix our problem, but someone to remind us that we are not abandoned. There is great wisdom in the old saying, "A sorrow shared is half a sorrow." When we pour out our struggles, the heaviness inside begins to lessen. This is because silence magnifies pain. When we lock our problems inside, they grow louder in our minds, feeding on secrecy. But when we express them to someone we trust, they lose some of their power. Words become like keys that unlock the prison of loneliness. In those moments, we realize that what felt like an unbearable storm inside us is something others too have weathered and survived. It is important, however, to choose carefully whom we share with. Not everyone can hold our burdens with care. Some people may judge, gossip, or dismiss our struggles, making us feel even lonelier. But the right people, the ones who listen without judgment, who encourage rather than discourage, who offer guidance instead of criticism, become anchors in the storms of life. They don't always give solutions, but their very presence steadies our hearts. Sometimes support systems are not only individuals but communities. A group of people who share similar struggles, a spiritual gathering, or even a circle of colleagues can create a safe space where experiences are exchanged, lessons are learned, and hope is rebuilt. We often underestimate how healing it is to simply hear someone say, "I've been there too. You're not alone." That single sentence can ignite courage where despair once lived. Even spiritually, we are reminded that no one is meant to bear burdens in isolation. Communities of faith, families, and friendships are designed to be places of strength in times of weakness. When one person stumbles, another helps them stand. When one person cries, another offers comfort. This interdependence is not a weakness, it is part of our humanity. To lean on others is not to admit failure, but to recognize that life was never meant to be a solitary journey. Many people, out of pride or fear, keep their problems hidden, thinking they must solve everything on their own. But strength is not in carrying the heaviest load silently. True strength is in knowing when to reach out and allow others to walk with us. By sharing, we don't just receive support, we also give others the chance to express their love, care, and compassion. In this exchange, both hearts grow stronger. So when life feels too heavy, don't lock yourself in the prison of silence. Open the door, reach out, and allow others to stand with you. You may discover that what once felt impossible to endure becomes bearable, not because the problem disappeared, but because you were reminded that together we are always stronger than we are alone. Many of the greatest achievements, inventions, and life transformations in this world were born not out of comfort, but out of problems. Problems have an extraordinary way of creating purpose. When life pushes us into a corner, when circumstances strip away our ease, when challenges force us to question everything, something awakens within us that might have otherwise remained asleep. A problem often becomes the spark that ignites our true calling. What we initially see as an obstacle can become the very reason we discover why we are here. History is filled with countless examples of this. A blind and deaf girl named Helen Keller faced unimaginable limitations, yet her problem pushed her toward a deeper purpose. She became a voice for millions, proving that disabilities do not define destiny. Thomas Edison's countless failed experiments could have been labeled as problems, but each failure carved a path toward the invention of the light bulb, transforming human civilization. Mahatma Gandhi's struggles against injustice awakened within him a purpose greater than himself, birthing a movement that changed the fate of a nation. In every case, the problem did not destroy them, it directed them. Without the problem, their purpose might have remained hidden. Even in everyday life, problems often redirect us toward meaning. A person who loses their job may discover their true passion and build a business that changes their community. Someone who faces illness may develop compassion that leads them to serve others in need. A broken relationship may teach someone the importance of self, love, and guide them to help others heal emotionally. Problems are often disguised doorways, leading us from a smaller life into a life of deeper impact. When everything is easy, there is little reason to change, to stretch, or to rise. Comfort rarely calls us toward greatness, but problems have a way of shaking us awake, forcing us to dig deeper, to ask bigger questions, to live with more intentionality. Pain makes us search for purpose, and purpose makes the pain meaningful. That is why so many people, when reflecting on their journeys, say, if it wasn't for that problem, I wouldn't be where I am today. What felt like a curse at the time becomes, in hindsight, the greatest blessing. Spiritually, problems often align us with higher callings. They strip away illusions of control and remind us of our dependence on something greater than ourselves. They soften our hearts to the struggles of others and inspire us to use our own wounds as a source of healing for the world. When we transform our personal pain into service, our problem becomes not just our teacher, but also our gift to others. The truth is, every problem carries within it the seed of purpose. Some people only see the problem and stop there. Others look deeper, water that seed with patience, faith, and resilience, and eventually watch it grow into a tree of meaning that not only shades their own life, but also gives fruit to others. The difference lies in how we choose to respond. We can either curse our problems or convert them into purpose. So the next time you face a challenge, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "How can this shape me? How can this guide me toward what I am meant to do?" Life's greatest purposes are often born from life's greatest pains. And when we begin to live from that understanding, no problem is wasted. Every one of them becomes part of the grand design that leads us closer to who we were always meant to be.